So by my watch, I have 12 o'clock. So are we ready to get started, Molly? Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry. I just admitted one more person in the
Okay.
waiting room. So wait just a second.
All right. And are you seeing my screen? That's the only other question I had. Perfect.
Yes, I'm seeing it.
It's big, right? You
No.
think by now I would know how to do all this good stuff. All right, let me do the share screen. There we go. Super. All right. So it looks like everybody's here that we let into the waiting room. Thank you all for joining us today. My name is Marilyn Sink. I'm the Health and Human Sciences educator for Purdue Extension in Scott County, and I'll be co-teaching today with.
I'm Molly Marshall, and I am the Health and Human Sciences educator in Jackson County.
So we're kind of we're flexible. So if you've got questions, don't feel bad about unmuting or even putting those in the chat. We'll try to watch those. So we want to make sure that you get the information that you are looking for today. So thank you for joining us for this series, the Break to Educate. Today's the last session in that series, and we're going to talk about don't lose your health over the holidays. So we've got a couple of learning objectives. We're going to do a breathing exercise, talk about nutrition do's and don'ts. If you ate it, how to negate it, physical activity, and then we're going to end with some talking about a little bit of mental health. So does anybody actively do breathing exercises? Just raise your hand, give me a thumbs up, something. All right, great. So I've been practicing breathing exercises for a little while, and I don't know about you, but sometimes I don't really particularly feel cheery during this time of the year. And so I'm sure I'm not alone. I think that some people find stress during the holidays, but it also does bring joy. And so one of the ways that we can lower our stress in the body is to practice mindful breathing. And so we're going to do an exercise today. It's an app. If you've got Android or Apple, you could just do a search for breathing exercises. And this one is from Calm Harm that we're going to be doing today. So it's a 1 minute kind of deep breathing exercise. It's a way to get us centered and focused for this discussion. And one of the things I like about this is I want to challenge you to breathe deep. So breathe from that stomach area. And when we do that deep breathing and do those long exhales, it sends messages to your brain that to calm down and to relax. And then the brain sends messages to the body to saying that you're calm and relaxed. So those things will, of course, we know that our minds can get a little cloudy, or sometimes we get antsy when we're stressed. And so other things that happen are we have fast breathing, it increases our heart rate, and even our blood pressure can go up. And so just by actively changing the way that we breathe can help to relax those things. So let's take a minute to practice this breathing exercise. You'll see a blue dot on the screen, and we're just going to follow its lead. All right, so hopefully you're seeing, nope, I don't think you are. So you're going to bring awareness to your breath and kind of watch the dot. So you're going to breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in and breathe out. I think this is the last time. Breathe in and breathe out. All right. So how do you all feel after that? Nobody's feeling anything?
This is Janet. I feel a sense of being calmer after doing that.
That's good. Like I said, this is one of my favorites, and you can just do a Google search. Um, I do it oftentimes before bedtime too. So I've been trying to actively put my phone down before bed, but before I do that, I'll do that breathing exercise. And once you get familiar with it, then you may not even have to look it up. You can just kind of do it in your head. Oh, I see one in the chat. So refresh. That's great that you do it with your devotionals in the morning. Love that. All right. Let me get my screen share going. It's paused or Zoom share. Okay. What a day for technology challenges.
Just got to keep
I,
breathing.
I think it's user definitely. There we go. There we go. All right. So next I'm going to kick it over to Molly since we're feeling a little more relaxed and hopefully our minds are a little more focused. I'm going to kick it over to Molly to talk about nutrition do's and don'ts.
All right, so thank you very much, Marilyn. Can everyone see my screen? And I've lost my Zoom, so I don't know. Can you guys see my screen? Did you see it?
I think it's Marilyn's screen.
Okay. Well, Marilyn, I may just have you keep the presentation on.
We can definitely do that.
Let's just do that.
Okay.
That'd be easier than trying to go back and forth, maybe. So we are going to be talking about nutrition. And I kind of split the presentation into what we call nutrition do's and don'ts. So we're going to get the negative section out of the way first. And I like to just kind of think about nutrition tips and tricks. And really a lot of these tips, they can be used anytime. They're especially helpful in the holidays when I think we're surrounded by food. So I do want to take a quick poll about how many decisions do you think the average person makes in a day around food? If you would just put your thoughts in the chat, do you think it'd be like we eat, 3 to 6 times a day, so maybe 10 times, or what are your thoughts? So we've got 25. Janet says 10. $11 to $12. You're probably not going to believe it. Oh, Sarah says 15. We're getting closer. It's actually 200 or higher. So thinking about, yes, it is. It's a wow statement. There's been some great research out of Cornell, and I mean, now it's been like 15 years ago, but they came up with, how and the way people make decisions around food, and they discovered that as many as up to 200 times a day, we're thinking about food or planning our next meal or snack. So there's always decisions. And that's really based upon the environment that we live in because we're so surrounded by food all of the time. So when we get to our nutrition don'ts, we're thinking about our next maybe holiday to get together or the next event around food. So oftentimes people think, oh, I'm going to go to this big dinner, so I'm not going to eat all day. I'm going to save myself for it. And that's really kind of counteractive. The holidays are hectic enough, so you really want to try to stick with your same routine as best as possible to have a plan to help you get through successfully. And kind of like Marilyn showed us with the breathing, just being mindful about your nutrition and kind of how you approach it, that can really lead you to success as well. And I think of the holidays around, what foods are important to me to eat during this time of year. Like this is maybe the only time of year I get grandma's pecan pie. So I want to make sure that I have grandma's pecan pie. So I'm going to plan for it. So that's kind of what we want to talk about today. So on the slide of nutrition don'ts, if you could go back one, Marilyn, that'd be perfect. Thank you. I talk about avoiding the white dinner roll syndrome. And what I mean by this is we can get those white dinner rolls any time of year, right? They're always available. They're always at the grocery store. So probably you don't want to waste your 80 to 100 calories on something you can have any old time. I like to think about your calories kind of like your bank account. You only have so much money and you only have so many calories. So you want to be cautious about how you spend it. So think about those, once a year treats that you get and plan for those accordingly. And same with the high fat snacks, like the little tins of cookies that may be sitting around your house or around your office. Those calories can add up in a hurry. So thinking about what we can do. Oh, we lost our screen. We're having challenges. Can you hit maybe resume slideshow?
It says we're sharing.
Yeah, it says you're viewing your screen. Here we go.
All right.
Okay.
We'll try that. I'm not going to touch anything.
Okay. So moving on to our nutrition do's. So what I do like to focus on, and this little picture, I think just says it all. So when you go to holiday get-togethers and there's all these treats and great dishes to choose from, you just have to have a plan going into it. And it really comes down to portions. Okay, so I'm going to talk a lot about portions. And kind of like the number of decisions that we make around food, portion sizes have really increased about 2 to 3 times since the 1970s. So a lot. We as dietitians, we like to say that all foods can fit. It's really just a matter of how much you're eating of them. And one of the best ways to control your portions is by the dishes that you eat your foods on. So I have a few items that I want to show. Hopefully you can go back where you can see me. Excellent. So just an example, this cup right here, you can see it. So I picked the green one. These are actually dishes from my grandma. That we've had, I've drank out of them when I was a kid. They were drinking out of them probably before that. So a long time ago, we've had these dishes. This cup holds 8 ounces, kind of the traditional serving for a drink. Today, in today's world, right, this is our typical glass. So this holds up to 28 ounces. Okay, so 2 to 3 times more liquid is going to go in here. So thinking about, and I will say, like, this is my glass that I drink out of all day long, but fortunately it's full of water, so we're okay. Okay, so that's, again, it matters what goes in it, right? Same with the plates. This is a dinner plate from my collection at home. It's 11 inches. This is the smallest dinner plate I could find. I got new dishes like 2 years ago. I couldn't find smaller. Okay, and this is a pretty big plate. It's going to take a lot of food to fill this up. And if you compare that to the salad plate of the same dish line, okay, this is 8 inches, so 3 inches less. Now you can see, I mean, you compare it to my head, it's a pretty good sized plate, right? You easily could go with your dinner on this. So when you look at these together, right, it makes a big difference. So that's kind of what I wanted to point out. When we use smaller serving sizes of plates and cups, we can kind of trick our minds into thinking that we're eating the same amount of food, but we're eating less. So that eating less food gives you less calories, and then you have more, room for the dessert table. So it's a good trick. And again, that research comes out of Cornell. It's really kind of fascinating, I think, around that. So thinking about desserts, if you want to eat those 3 desserts that were on the screen, now we see Marilyn, just so you know. Just have a little sliver, a couple bites of each. All right, so moving on to beverages. So kind of along those same lines that we were talking about, the holiday beverages. Calories from drinks can add up in a hurry. Okay, oftentimes when we drink sugary drinks, we don't get full, but yet we're taking in a lot of calories. So we continue to eat the same amount and then get additional calories from our beverages. And that can lead to weight gain, right? Most of us come away from the holidays thinking, oh man, I got to get back on track, right? So just by keeping these, little tips in your mind as you go through the holidays, then maybe we won't have to get back on track as much in January. So some tips around beverages. I like to choose a lower fat eggnog, but I will say two things about eggnog. Eggnog now comes out in October, so it's not even really a Christmas thing. You can get it as early as October. So I don't buy it until December. Like that's my rule because I will drink 3 containers, before December if given the chance. And I like to choose low fat if you can find it, but this year I've not been able to find it. So I just am not drinking as much. I'm really watching my portions. And same with something like hot chocolate. You can order that and get it made with skim milk. And again, you're going to save yourself about 60 calories versus the whole milk, which has more. Another little trick that I like to use if you are drinking alcoholic beverages, try to alternate between an alcoholic beverage and then drink 1 or 2 glasses of water in between. And that keeps you hydrated and also fills you up where, again, you won't be getting as many calories because you probably won't be able to drink as much. And again, those sugary drinks, just kind of all the time, best advice is try to avoid sugary drinks, choose more water or milk. If you do have a sugary drink, count it as your dessert because sometimes they have as much calories or more than a dessert. So speaking of desserts, Marilyn's going to tell us all about some tips around if we do partake.
There we go. I'm talking away. All right. So kind of back to the eggnog, just 8 ounces of eggnog is 224 calories. And that's the non-alcoholic. So if you add that 1.5 ounce of bourbon, that's 97 calories. And that's a total of 327 total calories. So think about that when you drink that. Spinach dip, I don't know about you guys, but this is a favorite at our parties. We're not really meeting this year, but I'll probably still make this. And so when you think about the spinach dip, it has 114 calories. And then we like to either do potato chips. And so 1 ounce of potato chips are 149 calories. Whoops. 149 calories. So that's a total of 263. If you do a refrigerated sugar cookie dough, so 85 calories, that's just for 1 serving. I don't know about you guys, but I love some pecan pie, and just 1 slice of that is around 530 calories. If you add a scoop of vanilla, that scoop of vanilla is 220 or 266. So that's almost 800 calories just for that dessert. So a popular favorite is candy canes at 60 calories. And I don't know about you, but I usually add those with some white chocolate. So that's going to bring that up even more. And like Molly was talking about that hot chocolate mix by itself, on an average, it's 111 calories. But if you add whole milk, it brings that up to 257 calories. So again, like she was saying earlier, some of these things we can get all throughout the year, but others, we might want to save and splurge on that. So now that we know some of the calories, I want to talk a little bit about how we can maybe burn some extra calories. And so here's a way to burn an extra 100 calories, just some ideas. So walking at a moderate pace for about 20 minutes burns 100 calories. Again, this is just a moderate pace. So you might want to get some cleaning in. So things such as sweeping or vacuuming can burn over 100 calories in 30 minutes. So if you do any type of body weight exercise, that can add up. And you don't, about exercise, you don't have to do it consecutively. So you can add it throughout your workday. Maybe you do some stretching or some walking in the morning. Maybe you take a break at lunchtime. And then maybe you finish your day off and do some activity too. So I think that sometimes when you talk about getting activity, I think people are turned off because they're like, oh my gosh, I don't even know where to put this 30 minutes in my day. But when we think about breaking it up throughout the day, then sometimes I think that's a little more helpful. Even stretching or doing yoga. I know somebody said that they did Bible study and meditation, but that, maybe doing some yoga would be another way you could start your day off. And believe it or not, grocery shopping or holiday shopping can burn up to 105 calories for 30 minutes. So get that cart, even if you don't need it, push it around. Just other little silly things that you can do throughout the day to get some exercise in. While you're waiting for your Keurig, maybe do some squats or do some push-ups on the wall or walk in place. Maybe if you've got a TV show TiVoed and you're going to play it back, don't fast forward through the commercials. Actually watch their commercials. Get up, do some stretching, walk in place, something like that. So there's all kinds of different ways that we can get our activity in without having to hammer it out at the gym. So now we're going to talk about some recipe substitutions. So you can still have some of those favorites, but maybe make them a little healthier.
Great. And again, these can be used year round. These are just some little tips to increase the nutrients that we can add into recipes, and we can lower fat content as well as increasing fiber. So the first tip that I like to share, if you could go back one, Marilyn.
Oh.
Whoops, it's going forward.
There we go.
Perfect. When you are baking items, you can use half white flour and half whole wheat flour. So kind of substitute half the amount with whole wheat flour. And again, that will help to increase the fiber content. And why fiber is good is that it increases with satiety. So it keeps us fuller for longer. And then it also helps lower cholesterol. So there's all kinds of great benefits around fiber. The next one is around flax, and that's the picture that I put on there. That's actually flax out of my refrigerator. I buy this just at Walmart, and it's in the baked goods section. And typically, I tend to buy the ground flax, so it's already ground up, so it's just ready to go, and you can add it into recipes. And the benefits around flax are they, again, higher in fiber. So another way to increase fiber in your diet. And they have omega-3 fatty acids, which are really good for our heart health. And they help to lower cholesterol and potentially even some research around lowering blood pressure. So just a plant-based food that can be added to baked goods. So if I'm making muffins in the morning, I will throw in a little bit of flaxseed. Now my kids don't always care for that, but I sneak it in. And one note around flaxseed, if you do add it to especially baked goods, you have to add extra water or a little bit of extra liquid because it is a binding agent, which leads me to that tip on the screen. If you run out of eggs, you can actually use ground flaxseed mixed with water. So you would just take a tablespoon of the ground flax and mix it in with 3 tablespoons of water, and that's the equivalent of 1 egg. So again, that would be good in like a baked goods product. I like to use Greek yogurt in place of sour cream or mayonnaise in recipes, pureed fruit for syrup. So maybe, if you're having pancakes, you can do a little bit of fresh blueberries with a blueberry sauce over it, or strawberries. Any kind of fruit like that is excellent. And again, using oats a lot of times is another great way to increase fiber. So you can add in a little bit of oatmeal with breadcrumbs. So you don't have to take away all the breadcrumbs, but just, substitute out kind of like you do with the flour. And using nuts for croutons. Again, the nuts will give you some good heart healthy fats and fiber, and then you still get the crunch, which is why most of us like the croutons, right? So those are just a few recipe substitutions that, again, you can use, anytime.
Molly, I've got a question because I've never heard about the flax meal in place of eggs. So how do you use that? Because I want to try that.
Yeah, so it's like say you were making muffins and usually the recipe calls for 2 eggs, then you would just use a tablespoon of flax, put that in a bowl, and then add your 3 tablespoons of water and mix it up, and then that would be considered your egg, and now you could add it to your batter.
I'm gonna have to try that and report back to you. That's a
Okay,
great.
give it a try. It's kind of a little trick, yeah. And especially if you run out of eggs, you know, and you always have flax. I live out of town, so I hate to go to town for a thing of eggs. Oh, Neely says, I love flax. I use it in cookies. Excellent. Excellent. I've never tried it in cookies. I haven't gotten that brave yet. I think they're good in smoothies too. If you've ever used flax in smoothies, just put in a little bit, and then you know you're getting some extra fiber and nutrients. Does anyone else use flax currently? Sarah, she uses it in smoothies as well. Excellent. Great. So kind of like Marilyn alluded to earlier, I did go ahead and include this tip on holiday parties, just because eventually we're going to get back to partying, hopefully. Maybe not so much this year. I know we've kind of, you know, decided to tone down the activities just with the virus. But when we do get back to going to social functions, I think it's good to keep these tips in mind. Kind of like I said before, if you knew you were going to an outing and it starts at 7 o'clock at night and you starved yourself all day, you're going to be really hungry by the time you get there. So it's always best just to eat a little snack. And this could be a great opportunity to get your fruits and veggies in, you know, eat a cutie or grab a handful of nuts. And that'll just tide you over so that when you get to the party, you know, you're not ravenous. And speaking of that, when you, like back in the day when we actually went to buffets or just a big spread of food, you know, at someone's house, I always like to give just a good eye over and check everything out that's offered. Because I don't know about you guys, but you get adding stuff to your plate and then you get halfway through and you're like, well, I've run out of room. So I think it's a good idea to just kind of really think about where you want to spend your calories and what you want on your plate before you commit. Bring a healthy dish. So a lot of times, you know, when you're going somewhere to a get together, it's kind of a pitch in. This is a great opportunity to try a new recipe or bring a healthy dish. I like to think outside of the box of just the typical kind of green bean casserole that, you know, we've all been doing for the last 30 years. Another little good tip is don't stand by the food. Because let's face it, if the food is biased, we're probably going to eat it. We're only human and that's what we want to do. So when you're done eating, leave the table, help with the dishes, you know, go take a walk, whatever, just try to distance yourself. And then the temptation won't be there to just every time you walk by, you know, taking a bite of something. And it's also a good time to remember to just try to, you know, do more grilling and baking and not as much frying, you know, with the food preparation. So along the lines of nutrition, you know, what you put in your body is super important, but also thinking about sleep, because the holidays are a very busy time and sometimes sleep goes out the door because there's so many things to do, right? Like I'm waiting on my Christmas cards to come in the mail so I can get those out. I'll probably stay up way too late getting them out the door. If they ever come, I don't know, we'll see. So sleep is kind of something that we don't always think about around our health, but is very important. Giving one of the best gifts you can give yourself is a good night's sleep. And when you don't sleep well, it can really impact your memory, your mood, and your overall health. Okay. So when you don't get enough sleep, it actually can affect our cravings for sweet foods and salty foods, and also our decision-making abilities around our food choices. And I know, I mean, me personally, I know, like if I don't get a good night's sleep, I tend to want to grab like highly caffeinated, you know, lots of teas or chocolate. Like I feel like I need something to get me going. So it's definitely real. And a really scary statistic is sleeping less than 5 hours a night increases our chances of becoming obese by 50%. So there's definitely research out there that sleep is important, and it really brings about restoration and healing of the brain and the body, okay? And right now, good night's sleep can impact your immune system. So trying to stay healthy is very important, and overcoming stress. So it's all kind of correlated, you know, sleeping well, taking care of yourself, eating well, all those things are related to your immune system. So the goal is 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night. So I just wanted to put that information in there, just to kind of a good reminder to try not to forfeit your sleep during this holiday season. Okay. Any questions or comments on sleep? And feel free, if you want to unmute too, that is perfectly fine. All right, well, I am going to ask that you put your guess in the chat box. So if I told you that by doing this activity, you would feel better about yourself, improve your sleep quality, decrease your chances of becoming depressed, maintain or reach a healthy weight, and give you stronger muscles and bones, would you want to do it? Chances are yes. So what do you think I'm talking about? If you could, put your guess in the chat box. What could you do to get all these benefits? I have a guess of walking. Exercise. Yes, so exactly right. We are going to talk about physical activity, and that includes exercise, walking, getting outside. That's where I like to do my exercise. So yes, physical activity. And I like to call it physical activity because it's just activity. So anytime you can get out and move, your body is going to benefit, and your mind too. Any movement counts. So going for a walk, gardening, yard work, bicycling, dancing, swimming, stretching, yoga. Just like Marilyn told us, any of those things can burn calories and help us to feel better. So what's great about physical activity is that it kind of combats the effects of aging. As we age, our metabolism slows down, so we're burning fewer calories. So what that means is we have to eat less food, okay? But physical activity helps to keep your metabolism a little bit higher. And this is especially true at the holidays where the average person does gain weight. So you may think, oh, I just gained a pound, maybe even 2 pounds. You know, that's not that big of a deal. But if you gain 1 to 2 pounds over the course of 20 years, then you're talking 20 to 40 pounds. Okay, so that's kind of how the weight can creep on. And I don't know about you guys, but the older I get, time just goes faster. So it's really paying attention to where you are in the moment, right? And just making those healthy choices to make you feel good. So just some ideas around physical activity in the winter and the holidays. I think this year especially, driving around and looking at Christmas lights is going to be a highlight. But if you live in a neighborhood, you know, you could go take a walk to look at the lights. Bundle up and, you know, stroll around your neighborhood. Go outside and play with kids. That's always a good thing to do. Some other examples are taking the stairs. If you're shopping at a store, you know, park out in the back 40. That way you get some extra steps in. And really just being active does increase the amount of calories that you burn. All right, so that's kind of the end of nutrition and physical activity. Marilyn's going to talk to us a little bit about stress, because we all know we have a little bit of that this time of year. Unmute yourself, Marilyn.
Nobody has any stress this year, that's for sure. All right. So, when again, for many people, the holidays calling, like you think about that, and they think about the holidays, and they're thinking about that Norman Rockwell like esque, or being on the cover of one of these um, fancy home magazines. But for some of us, again, we may not feel that jolly during the holiday seasons. For some of us, it's overwhelming to be around all that food or friends or family, or in the case of this year, just trying to decide how to spend the holidays with each other, whether that's going to be virtually or, modified our normal gatherings. So there could be a lot of other stresses this year that we don't normally feel. Um, and so we may even have pressure to impress friends or relatives with a spotless house. I can say I'm definitely guilty of that. Or even finding that perfect gift. Um, that can make us feel anxious too. So there's lots of other things that could be to make us feel anxious. Even conversations with relatives. So want to talk about some 5 things that you could do to hopefully uplift you and not feel bogged down this holiday season. So say no if you're feeling overwhelmed. I don't know about you. Many of us, I'm not very good at that. And I would dare say many of us aren't if we're feeling overwhelmed. We feel like we have to say yes. But if it's going to cost you your time or your happiness, then it's better just to say no. So that way, um, you can actually put the time and attention into other things that would benefit you. Be kind to your wallet. So make a budget and set that budget for each family member. Just something, it might be a little too late this year, but maybe for next year as you can start to think about planning for holiday gatherings. Maybe you don't do a gift for everyone. Maybe you just do a gift for a family member, or maybe just those under 18. Probably 10 years ago, my grandma said we were going to do $2 gifts. And if you were under 18, that they would get a big gift from the family. And many of us groaned and thought, this is crazy. First off, you're not going to find a gift for $2. And second, I mean, this is just, what is she thinking? But it's actually turned out to be a really great thing for our family. It takes the stress off. We have had so much fun finding $2 gifts. It can be something from retail that you use coupons or um, like rebates on, or something from Goodwill or a yard sale. We've had a lot of fun, and the kids don't miss out because the family gets them usually one big toy that they want. So it's been a really good thing for us. So that might be something that your family could implement. And then how to end unwanted conversations. Just kind of like Molly was talking about with the food. When you're done, get up from the table, see if you can be of help in the kitchen or put away dishes or something like that. Uh, Kind of the same thing. I don't know about you all, but I've got a particular aunt I'm thinking of. Sometimes she'll ask way too many questions and want to get too personal. And so I usually just try to go and see the kids, or, just tell her. I've even had people call me or get out your phone and say, oh, I've got to take this. So try to avoid those unwanted conversations. And, if you start seeing a conversation go in the wrong direction, try to steer it in another direction. I always like to avoid politics at family gatherings, but you have those one or two that like to bring that into the mix. So if you can try to get them talking about something else, that would probably be helpful for everybody at the table. Also during this time, it's never a good time to lose someone, but it's especially hard during the holidays. And so take time to honor those that have passed on, and however that looks to you. It may be, taking a saddle to the gravesite, maybe writing them a letter. But take time to honor those, because that is a part of the holidays and a part of us and part of that grief process. And don't be alone if you don't want to. Especially now, I know that we're modifying a lot of gatherings, but call somebody up or see if they can set up a meeting with you on Zoom, or there's plenty of different platforms. So make time to be with somebody this year, and even just simple things like letting your elderly family know, or somebody that doesn't live here, send them a card. to let them know that they're not alone this season. And so those are just some, 5 things that you can do to hopefully help uplift you and get you in a better mood for the holidays. So these are our sources. Molly, did you have anything else?
No, I think just thank you for listening in. And I did go ahead and put the link to the survey. We at Purdue always like to evaluate the programs that we offer, and we certainly want any feedback from this program. We would definitely appreciate it. So the link is on the slide as well as in the chat. And I think just open it up for conversation or questions. You're welcome, Carol.
Thank you so much. Some of the information was new and some of it was just good reminders, but I really appreciate it, especially at this time. I had the chat box down below and I was getting ready to do the survey, and now it seems to have disappeared. I see things, but the chat is not among those. Oh,
You mean
okay. Maybe it's under, there's something here that says more now. When you opened it up for discussion, it seemed to disappear. So let me see if I can, it says do Alt H. Okay, there. Okay. That brought it up on the side. Okay.
do you see the survey link in there now, Janet?
Yes, it showed up on the side when I did Alt H.
Okay.
I'd like to say something. I lost my husband a couple years. Well, it's been 8 years ago, and you said to honor them, and I always give my boys. I have 3 sons, and I always give them something that was Donald's for Christmas.
I love that.
So this year they're getting his belt buckles.
Oh,
That's awesome.
that is awesome.
Last year I gave him his hat pins.
That's a wonderful idea. I've never heard of doing that before.
Yeah, I can't take it with me, so I might as well give it to them, and I'm sure that they really appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. And to actually have 3 of something, that's pretty good.
I actually have 4 belt buckles. So one of them's getting 2, and then he had some little match boxes that he had saved that had matches in them that he got that have actually beer logos on them, which he got somewhere. I don't know, but the other 2 are gonna get those in a belt buckle. So
I think that's great. Thanks for sharing.
yeah.
Well, anything else, Molly?
I don't think
I think we're
so.
good. Well, I certainly appreciate you all taking time out, and don't forget, this is a part of self-care, is learning new things. So I appreciate you all taking time to take care of yourself and learn those new things. So let us know how we can help you in any way with Purdue Extension. We are always looking for new program ideas and ways to partner with folks, so we're open to that. And if nothing else, then I hope you have a safe and happy holidays.
Take care, everyone.